Rent $600. Utilities $80. Food $300. $1,370 a month, in a warm country, covered easily by an average Social Security check. That budget is real, and it is also why people run out of money in their first 18 months. So here are the 8 costs it leaves out, priced through 2 households. Both are invented, and I will say so every time. They exist to make the arithmetic concrete, because the problem with this budget is not that it is wrong. It is that it describes your 3. Hidden cost number 1. Temporary accommodation and deposits. Nobody signs a 12-month lease on an apartment they have never seen, in a neighborhood they do not know, in a country they just arrived in. Or rather, some people do, and they usually regret it. So the realistic sequence is that you arrive and stay somewhere temporary while you look. That means a furnished short-term rental at short-term prices, which in most markets is 2 to 4 times the monthly rate of an annual lease. Budget 1 to 3 months of that, because finding the right long-term apartment takes longer than you think when you are also learning a city, dealing with immigration paperwork and adjusting to a new language. Then when you do sign, the deposit. In much of Latin America and Southern Europe, landlords ask for 1 to 3 months up front, and in some markets they want a local guarantor, which a newly arrived foreigner does not have. The workaround is usually more money up front, sometimes 6 months or a year paid in advance. That is a real cash requirement, not a monthly cost. Call it $1,800 for 2 months of temporary housing, and another $1,800 for the deposit and first month. $3,600, before you have bought a single thing. Before cost number 2, meet the 2 households I am pricing this through, because both are invented and I want that on the record. I am going to follow 2 hypothetical people through this, and I want to be completely clear that neither of them exists. I am inventing them to make the arithmetic concrete, and the figures are illustrative rather than quotations. The first is Margaret. She is 68, single, moving alone to a mid-sized city in Latin America. Her Social Security is $2,071 a month, the 2026 average, and she has $40,000 in savings. The second is Robert and Susan, a couple in their early 70s moving to interior Portugal. Their combined Social Security is $3,400, and they have $110,000 in savings from selling their house. Hidden cost number 2. Furniture, appliances and utility setup. Here is what nobody tells Americans: unfurnished in a great deal of the world does not mean what unfurnished means in the United States. It frequently means genuinely empty. No refrigerator. No stove. No washing machine. Sometimes no light fixtures, no closets and no curtain rails, because built-in closets are not standard in many countries. Furnishing an apartment from nothing, even modestly, even buying second-hand, runs into the thousands. A bed, a mattress, a sofa, a table and chairs, a refrigerator, a stove, a washing machine, kitchenware, bedding, towels, lamps, a fan or an air conditioner. And appliances in countries with high import duties, which includes Costa Rica and much of Latin America, cost meaningfully more than they do in the United States, not less. Then utility setup. Connection fees and deposits for electricity, water, gas and internet, several of which will want a local identity number you may not have yet, which is its own bureaucratic detour. And the shipping decision. Bringing your belongings from the United States by container costs thousands and takes months, and in several countries you can only import household goods duty-free within a window after receiving residency, which you may not have yet. Not bringing them means buying everything again. Margaret budgets $4,000 to furnish and connect. Robert and Susan budget $7,000, because there are two of them and Portuguese apartments frequently lack the heating and appliances they will want through a damp northern winter. Hidden cost number 3. Visas, renewals, translations and apostilles. We covered the document package in detail in another video, so here I want to focus on the fact that it recurs. The initial application is the big one. The FBI background check, the federal apostille, state apostilles for birth and marriage certificates, certified translations by a translator that country recognizes, medical certificates, government fees, passport photos to local specification, and in several countries a local immigration attorney who is effectively mandatory. Then the renewals. Most of these routes are not permanent at first. Spain renews at 1 year and then in 2-year blocks. Portugal at 2 years and then 3. Ecuador and Colombia have their own cycles. Thailand renews annually. Every renewal has fees, and several require fresh documents, because background checks and medical certificates expire. Margaret budgets $3,500 for her initial residency and a recurring few $100s a year for renewals. Robert and Susan budget $6,000, because 2 applicants means 2 of nearly everything. Hidden cost number 4. Private insurance, and the way premiums behave as you age. This is the line that people underestimate most severely, because they price it once, at the age they are when they research it, and then assume it stays there. It does not. Health insurance premiums rise steeply with age, and the increases accelerate. A policy that costs a manageable amount at 65 can cost several times that at 80, and that is before medical inflation, which in most markets runs well above general inflation. Add the underwriting problem. Outside the United States, insurers can and generally do assess your medical history. They can decline you, exclude specific conditions permanently, apply a premium loading, or impose waiting periods. And many will not write a new policy at all for a first-time applicant above a certain age, often somewhere in the 70s. So the correct way to budget this is not as a flat monthly figure. It is as a figure that grows, faster than your Social Security cost of living adjustment does, for the rest of your life. If your plan only works at today's premium, your plan has an expiration date. Robert and Susan, at 71, discover that adding meaningful private cover on top of the Portuguese National Health Service costs considerably more than the quotes they saw quoted online for a healthy 55-year-old, which is the figure most articles use. Hidden cost number 5. Flights home, and the emergency that is not on a schedule. Everyone budgets a trip home. Almost nobody budgets it honestly. Be realistic about the frequency. If you have grandchildren, you are probably going more than once every 2 years. Then price the actual route from your actual destination, not from a major hub, because from a secondary city you are adding a domestic connection each way. Then add the emergency, which is the part that gets left out entirely. A parent, a sibling, or an adult child has a crisis. You need to fly within 48 hours, at whatever the fare is that day, which is not the fare you researched. You may need to stay for weeks. You may need to pay for accommodation while you are there because you no longer have a home in the United States. And you may need to do it twice in the same year. For Margaret, in Latin America, a round trip is manageable and she budgets for 2 a year plus a reserve for 1 emergency. For Robert and Susan in Portugal, transatlantic fares for 2 people, twice a year, is a significant annual number, and a last-minute emergency fare for two can be several $1,000s on its own. Hidden cost number 6. Tax preparation in two jurisdictions. The United States taxes its citizens on worldwide income no matter where they live. That does not stop when you move. So you will file an American return every year, forever. And once you become tax resident in your new country, which usually happens after around 183 days, you will generally file there too, on worldwide income, with a tax treaty determining how the two interact and which country gets to tax what. That is not a return you should be doing yourself with consumer software. Expatriate tax returns involve foreign account reporting, foreign income exclusions or credits, treaty positions, and potentially reporting on foreign pensions and investments that carry severe penalties if handled incorrectly. A cross-border tax professional who handles American expatriates is a recurring annual cost of real size, and you need one on both sides or one who covers both. There is also a trap worth naming: certain foreign investment products, including many non-American mutual funds and some insurance-based savings products sold to expatriates, are treated punitively under American tax rules. The sensible default is to keep your investments in American accounts and not buy local investment products without professional advice. Margaret and the couple both budget a meaningful annual figure for this, and it is a line that never goes away. Hidden cost number 7. Currency swings and transfer fees. Two separate costs living in the same category. The transfer cost is the small, constant one. Moving money from an American account to a foreign one costs something, whether through a bank wire, a transfer service, or an ATM withdrawal abroad. Bank wires are the expensive option. Specialist transfer services are much cheaper. And the real cost is frequently hidden in the exchange rate margin rather than shown as a fee, so compare the total amount that arrives, not the advertised fee. The currency swing is the large, unpredictable one. If you live in a country that does not use the dollar, your entire budget is denominated in a currency you do not control. We covered a live example in another video. The Costa Rican colon strengthened from about 497 to the dollar in January 2026 to around 448 by mid-August, which made an unchanged local rent roughly 11% more expensive in dollars in 8 months. You cannot hedge this as an individual in any practical way. What you can do is hold a larger reserve, avoid fixed local currency obligations, and prefer dollarized economies like Panama and Ecuador if your budget genuinely has no room in it. Hidden cost number 8. Air conditioning, heating, and seasonal utilities. The utility figure in the fantasy budget at the top of this video was $80. That number is usually an average of the pleasant months. In hot climates, the summer electricity bill is the problem. Merida, David, Bangkok, Dumaguete, running air conditioning in a poorly insulated building through the worst months can produce a bill that is a serious fraction of your rent, and in Mexico's tiered residential electricity structure heavy usage pushes you out of the subsidized tier into a much higher rate. In Southern Europe, the winter heating bill is the problem, and it surprises people more because they moved somewhere warm. Portuguese, Spanish, Greek and Italian housing is famously poorly insulated, central heating is not standard, and the buildings are designed to shed summer heat rather than retain winter warmth. Interior Portugal and northern Spain in January are cold and damp, and heating an uninsulated apartment with electric heaters is expensive. Budget for the worst month, not the average month. And when you look at apartments, ask about insulation, ask about the orientation of the windows, and ask a current tenant what they actually paid in August or in January. Before we total this up, I owe you the other side of the ledger, because a video that only lists costs is not an honest accounting. Several things get genuinely, permanently cheaper, and some of them are large. The car is the big one. In most of these destinations you can live without one, and eliminating a vehicle removes the payment, the insurance, the fuel, the maintenance, the repairs, and the eventual replacement. For many American households that is several $100s a month, and it is a permanent structural saving rather than a one-time one. Property tax and home maintenance disappear if you rent. No roof, no furnace, no property tax bill that rises every year regardless of your income. Routine medical and dental care is dramatically cheaper almost everywhere on the list, often to the point where paying cash is simpler than insurance. Dental work in particular can cost a fraction of American prices at genuinely good quality. Prescription medication is frequently much cheaper, sometimes by an order of magnitude. Food, if you eat local rather than imported, is cheaper nearly everywhere, and often much better. And there is a category that does not appear on any spreadsheet: the things you stop buying. A great deal of American spending is driven by a built environment that requires a car, by climate control and extreme weather, and by social norms about what a household should own. Those pressures ease considerably in a smaller, denser, warmer place. So the long-run picture is genuinely favorable. That is why people do this and why so many of them stay. The problem is never the destination of the trip. It is the ramp. Which brings me to how you actually fund that ramp. Treat the setup fund as a specific, named pot of money with a target number, separate from your emergency reserve and separate from your ongoing budget. Work out your own version of the $13,000 or $20,000 we just walked through, for your specific country and household size, and then add a genuine margin, because every one of these numbers has a tendency to come in high rather than low. Fund it before you give notice on anything. If selling your house is what funds it, remember that the proceeds have to cover the setup fund, the emergency reserve, and whatever you were counting on for long-term security, and those are three different jobs for the same money. Then sequence the spending so the reversible things come first. Rent temporary accommodation before you commit to a lease. Rent a year before you consider buying, if you consider buying at all. Buy the cheap furniture first and upgrade later once you know you are staying. Do not ship a container until you have residency and have decided you want to be there. Every one of those choices keeps the door open, and the value of an open door in year one is enormous. And build in an explicit decision point. Give yourself a date, 12 or 18 months out, where you sit down and honestly assess whether this is working, with enough money still in reserve that leaving remains a genuine option rather than a fantasy. People who keep that option open tend to stay, because they are choosing to be there. People who spend their way into having no choice tend to become miserable, because they are trapped there. So let us add it up. Margaret's first year. Temporary housing and deposits, $3,600. Furnishing and setup, $4,000. Residency, $3,500. Flights, allow $2,000. That is roughly $13,000 of one-time cost, on top of her monthly living expenses, in year one. Against $40,000 of savings, that is manageable, but it is nearly a third of her cushion, and it leaves less than she imagined for the emergency reserve. Robert and Susan's first year runs materially higher, because everything with a per-person component doubles and transatlantic flights are expensive. Call it $20,000 or more. Now here is the thing I actually want you to take from this. Their ongoing monthly budget, from year 2 onward, is genuinely as good as the number at the top of this video. Living abroad really is cheaper. The savings are real and they compound over a long retirement. The problem is entirely front-loaded. It sits in year one, and it is paid out of savings rather than income, and it arrives while you are also disoriented, jet-lagged, dealing with bureaucracy in a language you do not yet speak, and least equipped to handle a financial surprise. So the honest test is not whether you can afford the monthly budget. It is whether you can absorb the first year and still have a genuine reserve left afterwards. If moving abroad would consume your entire cushion, then the move has not made you more secure. It has made you more exposed, in a place where you have no support network and no easy way back. Build the setup fund as a separate thing from the emergency reserve. Do not let them be the same money. And then, when both are funded, go. If this was useful, subscribing helps. Now tell me in the comments, for those of you who have already moved, what was the cost that blindsided you? Not the one you underestimated. The one you did not know existed. Those answers help people more than anything I can research, so please be specific about the country and the number. Educational information only. Not financial, tax, medical, legal or immigration advice. The people in this video are hypothetical and the figures are illustrative. Get quotes and professional advice for your own situation. But every one of these costs is survivable except the healthcare one. Watch our Medicare gap investigation next. It is on your screen now.